Los Angeles. Welcome into another episode of the Rams Skinny here on the LA Football Network, live on the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio. I'm your co-host, Ryan Dyrud, joined as always by the main man, the Rams beat writer, our managing editor, provocateur, hipster, the man with the beautiful hair and long locks, my good friend, Ryan Skinny T. Anderson. What's up, brother? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, good friend. I love that. That's what I want to be known as right there. Dyrud's good friend. I love that. We had a false start, but I'll say it again. Trying out a new tagline for the web or for the show. It's the most influential Rams podcast, and there's proof. There's proof now. I said it last week. Signed Mason Crosby. They went out and did it. So thank you, Les Snead, for listening to my advice. And if you need any more, you know how to get a hold of me. Come on the show.
That's right. He listens. We got Mason Crosby. We talked about Robbie Gould. He's now retired, so he must have listened. I love that. The most influential Rams podcast. And thank you all for hanging out, helping this thing grow. It's been awesome to see over the last, this season, this thing start. We started this from zero. I mean, I used to do the LA football show that we talked Rams, and Skinny, you would come on as a guest. And so we decided to start the Rams Skinny as a sole Rams show this season. So starting from zero, we've seen it grow. That's thanks to you guys. Help us keep it going. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't yet subscribed, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're fans of other LA football teams, we have a USC LAFB channel. We have a UCLA LAFB channel. We have a Chargers LAFB channel. Of course, you can find everything in one spot at LAFBnetwork.com. And obviously, the Rams Skinny is everywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. Hit that subscribe there. We appreciate it. And if you're on radio, thanks for making us a part of your commute. So big game this week, though, Skinny, with the Rams and the Ravens traveling to Baltimore. It's going to be a cloudy, potentially rainy day at M&T Bank Stadium. Quickly, I got to share a story with you. I know I tried to do this earlier, but I'm going to retell it. So you'll be hearing it for the second time. So it won't be as nuanced, I guess. But we booked a trip recently, and I did not look at the schedule when doing so. I work from anywhere, so I don't even have to really check based on, work schedule. I just know I'm going to be working on football games. I just can be wherever I want to be, which is a beautiful thing. I didn't look. My niece recently moved to Baltimore, and we've been wanting to go to the East Coast for Christmas. We always go to Colorado, but we wanted to make a pit stop on the East Coast. My good friend also just moved to New York City, so we're like, all right, let's go to Baltimore. Then we can go visit our friend in New York, and then from there we'll fly to Denver to see my folks. So we're leaving on Wednesday. So in 5 days, we're leaving on Wednesday to go to Baltimore. Did not look at the schedule and realize the Rams will be in Baltimore 3 days prior playing. So I am very upset with myself that I did not look, because we would have flown out a little earlier, spent more time out there, gone to the game, met some of the Ramley on the East Coast. So a little bummed with my decision-making there.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That would have been a really good stadium to check off the list. Baltimore seems like a great town, seems like a great, obviously a great football organization, but really, really nice fans out there, I'd imagine, as well. So bummer, man. Maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, good news is it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I guess so. So big L for me, but oh, well, what can you do? We'll be watching it from the beautiful confines of Los Angeles and keeping coverage from there anyway. So before we get any further, real quick, got to talk to you about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Please head to underdogfantasy.com or the Underdog Fantasy app on the App Store or Google Play. When you create an account, enter your first time deposit. It only has to be $10. Use our promo code RAMSLAFB. That's all one word, RAMSLAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100. You put in the minimum of 10, get 10 free bucks. Now you got 20 to play with. The pick'em is a blast. You pick 2 to 5 players. Got to have one from a different team. Any sport. You're choosing over-unders. If it's right, you win money. I had a big one going last night, Skinny T. Almost won $1,500. Michael Porter Jr. needed one more rebound for a double-double that would have won me $1,500. So it's a lot of fun. It keeps the games interesting. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Rams LAFB. Playoff game. This is a playoff game for the Rams, essentially. You have an 8-3 Ravens team who is the cream of the crop up at the top of the AFC. You have a 6-6 Rams team tied for 8th in the NFC, clawing their way back from 3-6 to get in the playoff picture. And if they can go into Baltimore and come out with a win, then I think it's safe to say, and nationally, they'll get the respect that they are truly a good football team. And Sean McVay has done one hell of a job in coaching this team to 7-6, but it's going to be a tough task. As we always do, Skinny, from above the stadium, the faraway lens, just your biggest kind of looking at this game.
Yeah, this is going to be the biggest test of this version of the Rams team. We saw kind of earlier on a team that hadn't matured to the point it is now. And we saw over the last 2 weeks, they're looking really good. Their offense is humming. It's on track. They scored 30 points 2 weeks in a row. Last week against the league's best defense, they scored 36 points. 34 on the offense anyway, but a good showing against that really great defense. Well, this week it's the second best defense in the league, so things don't get any easier. The Ravens lead the league in sacks. They're going from the pot and into the fire. I guess they would say. So this offense is going to have to continue to show up. This offense is going to have to score points, and the biggest thing is Sean McVay is going to have to remain patient and calm and continue to run the ball against this team, because if there's one way you can beat the Ravens, it's on the ground. They are actually the 26th ranked team against gap runs calls from offenses. So the Rams are set up to do that. They can win, but Sean McVay has to stay patient. The Ravens are going to put up points in this game. They might come early as well, but Sean McVay is going to have to stay patient and deliberate and make sure his play calls are the right ones at the right times.
Yeah, absolutely. Great shout. And for me, the big kind of lens is, the offense is going from the number 1 defense to the number 2 defense. So shouldn't be a huge change there in what they need to do. Everything you just said is well said in terms of, running gap scheme and whatnot and being creative still, which we talk about all the time, and sticking to the run. But defensively, going from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson is quite the leap there. And that's the big difference maker. And you look at the playmakers that this Ravens team have, and obviously, per usual, they're kind of banged up in the running back room, but they still run the ball effectively. You look at OBJ, obviously, who we know well here in LA, winning a Super Bowl with the Rams, and he's kind of getting his stride going. And Zay Flowers is having a great rookie season. And, we just saw this team in LA just a few weeks ago when they played the Chargers, and the Chargers defense did a pretty good job of slowing them down. They ended up putting up 20 points total, but the Chargers defense was able to, alleviate those big plays and kind of keep them in check outside of when it mattered most at the end of the game. They gave it the big, rushing touchdown to Zay Flowers on that nice play design at the end. But up till that, it was a 1-score game, 13 total points, I believe, until that touchdown, and they did well. So the Rams could learn something, I think, from that tape in how Brandon Staley and the Chargers were able to kind of neutralize them. So huge test going from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, still to this day, probably doesn't get the respect he deserves nationally for the type of quarterback he is. What's your thoughts on Lamar Jackson? Are you there yet where you think he's a year in and year out MVP? Obviously, he's won an MVP, but is he that caliber quarterback every time? Does he still need to prove some things to you? What's your thought on L-Jax?
He's proved everything he needs to prove to me. That's for sure. I think he's fantastic. And, the dual threat that he brings is one of the most formidable in the league. And we're seeing it this year. They bring in a new offensive coordinator, kind of mix things up, and they're one of the best offenses in the league. They're one of the best teams in the league. But the offense, especially, he's the reason that the rest of the run game continues to churn, even though they lose guys every year. It seems like, go on IR. Their draft pick that they continually can't keep healthy is he's not staying on the field, that's for sure. But nothing to prove on my end. He's proved he can be a pocket passer. He's actually one of the most accurate passers when it comes to intermediate throws of more than 10 yards. So, he can make those throws. So, in terms of that conversation, there's nothing there that he needs to prove to me. And if anybody else, if from my vantage point. Now there's the news that came out that he was not feeling so well, didn't practice on Thursday. So we'll see what that looks like on Sunday. But he is not Joe Flacco. That's why I'll leave that.
Yeah. Even though elite Joe Flacco is the sole owner of a Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl, ironically enough, obviously.
MVP.
MVP. There you go. Elite Joe. And apparently amongst many of the national and out of touch fans, Lamar Jackson is yet to be elite. I don't get it either. I feel like Lamar Jackson and Matthew Stafford are very similar, not at all in play style or whatever, but similar in regards to just never get enough respect. It's like, what more do they have to do to get respect? Like Matthew Stafford, same here. It's like, he's always, oh yeah, he's got a nice arm. Like, oh, he's had some good years, but there's always a but. Like, but he had Calvin Johnson in Detroit, but he has Sean McVay as his head coach and Cooper Kupp as his receiver. I mean, you see that throw to Puka Nacua last week. That was an dot that he threw over a backer in between a safety to spring Puka Nacua open for that 70-yard touchdown. And, the good quarterbacks can throw to open receivers. Great quarterbacks throw receivers open. And I think certainly Matthew Stafford can do that. I think Lamar Jackson can do that as well. And that's what, this Rams defense will have to prepare for. And when you look at explosive plays, Lamar Jackson has 6 40-plus yard, 40-plus yard throwing plays, not necessarily through the air 40 yards, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's been 40-plus yard plays that he has been a throwing play from, and he has 6. Stafford has 5. So they're fairly similar to that. I think maybe you will know. I think Brock Purdy leads the league with 9 of such plays. That's thanks to a lot of broken runs with Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. But hey, that's neither here nor there. That's a different podcast for Week 18 that we'll talk about. But Lamar Jackson is no slouch, and I think we'll see a very good game from him. And so here's what I'll ask you. How, as a defense, can this Rams unit neutralize him? Obviously, getting pressure and sacking him is great, but he's someone that can escape pressure. So is it just being very smart at the edge and not pursuing too much? So if you get pressure from the interior, from Kobie Turner and Aaron Donald, he can't just escape. Like, what do you think the defense can do to have a shot at slowing Lamar down?
It's going to be a hard one. It's going to be a hard day for this defense. They've cleaned up a lot of their issues in missed tackles, which is job one for this defense. They were having a really hard time early on in the season, but they've done a good job of reversing that. So that trend needs to continue. The starting edge rushers for the Rams are both on the injury report right now. They both didn't practice on Wednesday. So Michael Hoyt and Byron Young, both right now, let's say they're questionable to play. We will find out what the official call is on that. But you got a rookie and then a converted defensive lineman moving out to the edge. That's what they were rolling into the season with. Now, Byron Young has done a fantastic job, and Michael Hoyt has not been an embarrassment, at the edge. So, but if the second stringers come in, that's another drop in talent. So that's kind of your first line of defense of not allowing Lamar to just run over you. And if you look at previous opponents that the Rams have played with mobile quarterbacks, they struggled. They struggled against Jalen Hurts, and they struggled against Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson was able to pick up first downs and keep the Colts in the game that they played. Rams ended up winning that game in overtime, but that is, that's the concern, is that he's going to keep them in the game. And Ernest Jones, that's the guy I'm looking at to be play one of his best games of his career. He's going to have to play. So between cleaning up missed tackles, making sure that trend continues, and Ernest Jones just playing with his hair on fire, but in a controlled manner, running around with his hair on fire, but under control, and reading the play correctly and understanding, it's not going to be Keaton Mitchell. It's not going to be Gus Edwards. Oh, it's Lamar Jackson. So, that's a tough job.
Yeah. Tough job for anyone to be able to do. And when I looked back to that Chargers game, last game they played, and he ended up having 11 carries. Obviously, a lot of those are not designed runs; they're scrambles. But the Chargers were able to keep him in check with, I think 39 yards, had like a 3.5 yard per carry average. And so that is what the Rams will have to do. Like you said, on those extended plays, not letting them extend drives with his legs, because that's where he's so dangerous. And that's what makes him such a good quarterback, is he can beat you with his arm, absolutely, but he can beat you with his legs just as good, if not better sometimes. So Ernest Jones being that kind of QB spy, following him around, who's done a great job all year. But yeah, this will be this toughest task, because as great as Anthony Richardson looked early on as a rookie, as great as Jalen Hurts can be, I mean, when it comes to just pure athleticism, Lamar Jackson's probably the most athletic quarterback that we have in the game today. So it's a tall task. But if Aaron Donald can get some pressure, that certainly helps you do that. The other part our ad, Skinny, is in that secondary. When you look at Akhello Witherspoon, when you look at all these other guys that have been playing well, Derion Kendrick and whatnot, how are they going to slow down, Zay Flowers, OBJ? Because if you can keep them in check and force Lamar then to get kind of happy in the pocket, get kind of the happy feet moving around, then you give yourselves a good chance with that defensive front to get after them. But if they're able to just get open really quickly, then they're going to move the ball down the field very effectively, which I know they like to do on offense. So going to be a tough task for this secondary as well. But, I don't think there's, I just mentioned to everyone in the receiving core, I think they have some good receivers, but this secondary has played some really good receivers already this season. So I don't think it's going to be anything they haven't seen before in terms of talent and skill set. But whether they can consistently keep doing what they've been doing will be another question. I think they can, but we'll see. I mean, that's the other kind of layer to this.
Well, and Lamar's favorite receiver, Mark Andrews, has been out though he missed most of the Bengals game. He's certainly not going to play in this game. But the question I have in my mind is Mark Andrews so important to this Ravens offense that's why they were only able to put up 20 points against the Chargers, who their track record as a defense has not been stellar this season. So, is that something that the Rams will be able to take advantage of, or have the Ravens begun to fix the big hole that's left by Mark Andrews, which we don't know the answer to that yet. But it's something that they at least don't have to worry about. And Zach Ertz is out there. We'll see what decision he makes about where he wants to play tight end. But that seems like a great spot for him to land, where he can he can be a contributor right away, and with getting a lot of playing time there.
That's a great call. Because they certainly, I mean, that was the number one. Mark Andrews to Lamar Jackson is Travis Kelce to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's the matchup that everyone has to take into account, and he is and has been the best weapon for Lamar Jackson since he was drafted out of Oklahoma. And so without him, it definitely hurts their chances. They've been able to, still get over that and still have a good record, and obviously be able to beat the Chargers in that regard. So it's a great point. We'll see. But Zach Ertz, I think it would be a great fit there. Where is he even? Is he still just thinking Eagles? Is that the top one on his list right now?
I've heard Niners as well, but they got Kittle there, and I don't know what his role would be if.
Yeah,
I mean, they seem like they're just adding anybody that wants to come play for him right now, which is if you want to get another ring, might as well try it out with them. But yeah.
I mean, obviously you add ammunition, so that helps. But yeah, go to a team that is in need of someone to fill that void that also has Super Bowl aspirations. I feel like that makes a lot of sense in Baltimore. So just don't sign till after this week. Don't go signing on Saturday and all of a sudden we're like, oh great, now we get to play against Zach Ertz. So let's flip it over to the offense. Well, real quick, actually, I wanted to ask you this. In your opinion, is there a better linebacking duo than what the Ravens have right now with Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen? I mean, that's got to be up there. I'm putting you on the spot, but can you think off the top of your head of a better linebacking duo?
I mean, no, I think that's got to be, you got Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, but you got to worry about Dre Greenlaw picking fights with the water boy or whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Getting a lot of penalty yards.
But even just a straight up matchup, I think that those two, you saw the difference that he made when they brought on Roquan Smith to that Baltimore defense last year. Was it just last year? Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's a difference maker, and you think about Shaq Leonard, joining where did he go?
Philly.
Philly, yeah. And just after what the Niners did to Philly, just across the middle and in that intermediate area, and just like just broke them apart. And it's just like difference maker in the middle. There you go. Answer question answered, solved. So
exactly. And their last game they played, both graded by PFF over 90. Patrick Queen with a 94, Roquan Smith with a 91.4 against that Chargers. So that'll be a good segue now to the offense. Like if you're the Rams offense, and we saw what they were able to do last week. And granted, it was close up until the fourth quarter, and the offense kind of really then took off in the fourth quarter and broke it wide open to get to 36. But how do you foresee them able to kind of go against this defense that has star power at all levels? I mean, you look at we just mentioned those linebackers. You look at the defensive line. Jadeveon Clowney is kind of having a rebirth in his later years. They have Hamilton on the back end at safety, the great kid out of Notre Dame, the Golden Domer as you're a fan of, obviously, and Kyle Van Noy signed with there, who's a great veteran presence. They got Ronald Darby signing this offseason, who's a veteran corner, plus obviously other much more talented corners. So where do you attack if you're the Rams, in your opinion? Do you attack, like you said, the gaps in the run game, which they've been susceptible to the gap schemes? Do you really get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua involved, but try to keep them out of the middle with those backers and just do outside stuff? Like, what do you think this Rams offense needs to do?
Yeah, it starts on the ground. I think that's this is a team that's always physical, year in, year out. This is one of the most physical teams, and it's just it's built into their DNA. It's John Harbaugh. It's everybody in that building. And we've seen in the past Sean McVay just really struggling to keep up with teams that match them physically. So I'm going to say this game is going to be decided in the trenches. This is going to be the big boys. This is just on
like last week.
Just like last week, and they did a great job. They kept Stafford upright, and that's what they're going to have to do again. 47 sacks on the season for this Ravens team, and it's they lead the league, and they just cannot. The offensive line is going to have to protect Stafford as well as they did last week, and that's no easy task. You listed off all the guys. But it's not going to. This game isn't going to come down to one or two key players just making big plays. I don't think this is just going to be smash mouth football. Hard fought all the way. And then, as I was talking about at the beginning, Sean McVay is just going to have to trust that his team, his offense, is going to be successful for all four quarters, and not try to just take big strikes. Just sound football, first and second down, just 3, 4, 5 yards. Just keep moving that ball, and then if that sets up a great play to Tutu Atwell or Puka Nacua, go for it. But this game, offensive line is that's the key. And my gal, it's a tough one.
we talked last week about physicality and like, all right, this was an opportunity. This Rams team has always kind of been a finesse team and 11 personnel and the flash and the big plays and this, and they've never been known as a smash mouth team. And last week we talked about how going against this Browns team, like they need to start making a name for themselves as a more grinded out smash mouth type team. And they did that in the draft, as we talked about, with getting Steve Avila. They added Kobie Turner to the defense. They brought in Kevin Dotson during free agency, who's been a godsend at the right guard position. And they were able to do that. And so now this is another back-to-back game where they can start to prove themselves as not the glitz and glam of LA, but the AFC or the AFC North style of football that the Ravens, the Browns, the Steelers, they all play. And so it's a great opportunity for them to keep stacking on that. And, it starts with Steve Avila, who's just an absolute meat grinder, just an absolute mauler. And then it ends with the way that Sean McVay calls plays. And I think, like you said, sticking to that run, which we've been pounding the table for all year, and they've started to do more because we are the most influential Rams podcast in LA. So they've been listening, but it's so important. So kind of final question, and then we can do predictions. And I probably know your answer based on everything we just said, but just for the food for fodder, I guess. Who do you, not name Matthew Stafford, is most important offensively in this? Is it Kyren Williams? Is it Cooper Kupp? Is it Puka Nacua?
Those are my options. Those are the guys I get to pick from.
Unless you want to throw a fourth one in there, go ahead. Well, this is your show. You can do whatever you want.
I was going to say an offensive lineman, but I'll stick with the offensive weapons. I'm going to say that this should be a Cooper Kupp game.
Yeah. Or let me even ask you this before you expand on that. Sorry. Do we know for sure, is Tyler Higbee out?
Well, he didn't practice yesterday. I don't know. He's out with a neck injury, so that's always a little bit dubious. But yeah, I don't think there's any word. I haven't seen anything.
Okay, I would think he will not play. So I can just add that. Do you think a tight end is going to need to step up or stick with Cooper Kupp? Sorry, go ahead.
Tight end. That's a fascinating question to see who's going to step into that role. It's just
Ben Skowronek.
Maybe. Hey, Ben Skowronek, that's an interesting answer right there. Because he's a physical guy, and he's gonna, if he's a kind of a lead blocker, using him in motion to kind of, hit one of those gaps and take out one of those linebackers if he can. That's an interesting answer right there. I kind of like that one, but I'm gonna go with Cooper Kupp just because he's a veteran. He's been in these games before. He's been ground down to just a nub in games and come out looking all right and putting up good stats. So I think old reliable for Matthew Stafford.
Reliable.
That's his role in this game.
Love it. Yeah, and we talked last week. We want to see him have that breakout performance since coming back from injury. That people are starting to question, like, is he ever going to be elite again? Is he this good? So it'd be nice to see him against this defense have that Cooper Kupp like game. I'll go. I feel like I've had this answer the last 3 weeks, but it just shows how important is the offense. I'll go with Kyren Williams again. Run that gap scheme, stick to the ground, make the defense punish them, make them tackle, and obviously we know how important he is in the passing game as well, being that 2023 Todd Gurley version of the Sean McVay offense, and he certainly has done it to a proud rendition, if you will. The sequel's never as good as the original, but this one's been pretty close so far. And they just got to keep it going. But all right, score predictions. What do you got in this one? You got the 9-3 Ravens. I had it all teed up, and now I forgot off the top of my head. Yes, the 9-3 Ravens, 6-6 Rams. Who are you taking in this one?
The Ravens are 7.5-point favorites. I don't know if we said that at the top, but that is a hefty sum to win by. Rams have always been competitive in every game they've played almost this season. Except for maybe one or two exceptions. And I am going to say that they're going to continue to be competitive. I think that this offense is going to kind of have a repeat performance against a very good defense. So I'm going to say that they get over the 30-point hump. First time I've predicted that in probably 6 weeks or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that I don't think they get it done though. They're going to cover though, 37-32.
Okay, there you go. 37-32. Nice high scoring game when you got two great defenses. I love it. 7.5-point favorites. Odds brought to you by BetOnline, our friends at BetOnline. Go to betonline.ag today. Use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, gets you a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. Yeah, I want to pick the Rams. They're on a 3-game win streak. Like I said, if they win this game, it just proves that they truly are a potential, playoff team, and they are a really good team. I believe that. I still think they can be a playoff team. I do believe they are a good football team. They're well coached. I just think at this point on the road, the Ravens are a better team. So I agree. I think the Ravens do sneak this one out. I think it'll be close. It's going to be well fought, but you get the 10 o'clock kick time for the Rams. Every West Coast team always struggles with that 10 a.m. kick time for whatever reason. It's going to be probably rainy, cloudy, cold, which is obviously not optimal weather for our glitz and glam Rams. But hey, if they're getting back to this smash mouth, maybe they won't even care. But keep it close. 37-32. I want it to be that kind of game. I'll go a little lower scoring. I think they cover as well. So I'll go 27-21 Ravens win. But it'll be close. Well fought. And a moral victory, which there's no such thing, but as a podcast host, we can call it that.
I love it. Yeah. We get to have our own rules, Footballers have their own rules. They make a lot of money. We get to make up our own rules for stuff. Hey, moral victories do exist.
When you're the most influential Rams podcast in the land, you can absolutely make up your own rules. So that being said, Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. This is the Rams Skinny for Ryan Skinny T. Anderson. I'm Ryan Dyrud. Everyone have a great weekend. Again, please like and subscribe to the show. If you're on YouTube, it's Rams LAFB. If you're not, you can go look it up. Check out all of our Rams content at LAFBnetwork.com. Plenty of great articles from Skinny T here, plus all of our other Rams and all of our other LA football coverage. And like and subscribe if you're on Apple, Spotify, wherever. And if you're on radio, drive safe, get home on this Friday night to your loved ones. Everyone, appreciate you. Have a great weekend. Go Rams. Hopefully we're both wrong. We can be talking about a victory on Monday, which is the hope. Would love to be proven wrong in that. But have a good one. We'll talk to you guys all next week.